company.
Whoa, they're spicy today. Hey, can we stop for some burgers? I'm getting hungry. We can still hold a rally today, right?
I didn't sign up for this.
Off the top of the dome, you have President Trump getting his ear blasted off, getting a successful headshot in Butler, Pennsylvania. Then you have Ryan Routh, who was allowed to camp out at Trump's property with a firearm. Ryan Routh tried to get RPGs to shoot down Donald Trump's plane, tried to create explosives, pipe bombs. You have President Trump being followed by a mysterious drone that had to be shot down in Pennsylvania. They still don't know who was flying the drone. It had to be blown out of the sky. You didn't hear about that. How about the Iranian plot to kill President Trump? This was a plot that had already recruited assassins in the United States to do this. There's also the Afghan plot to kill President Trump. They were able to foil that, as far as we know, using Afghani refugees. Hidden among those refugees, ISIS fighters that were here to kill President Trump. And now we have a brand new President Trump assassination attempt. Thank God. So what do we know now about a teen who was attempting to murder Donald Trump? Teen allegedly killed parents on path to assassinate Trump. So it sounds like he was quite serious about this. A Wisconsin teenager allegedly killed his parents as part of a plan to assassinate President Donald Trump, federal officials said in recently revealed court documents. Nikita Kasp, 17, was previously charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of hiding a corpse for an incident that happened before February 28th in Washakie County, according to Sheriff Eric Stevenson. The teen was confirmed to have been arrested and charged with operating a motor vehicle without consent of the owner and theft on March 12th. The investigation into the death of his parents was carried out. Wisconsin court records show that Kasp is being held in Washakie County Jail ahead of his arraignment. Federal application of a warrant filed on March 18th, the FBI special agent indicated that the prosecutors are seeking to additionally charge Kasp with conspiracy to commit presidential assassination and charge him with involving weapons of mass destruction. What is this? The charges stem from a welfare check conducted on February 28th, after which responding to the deputies found the teen's stepfather and mother, Donald Mayer and Tina Kasp, dead inside of their family home. Jeez, man, it's demonic. This is just some demonic, it's just demonic evil. Mayer's mother had called for a welfare check after being unable to reach the family and learning that Kasp had not attended the school for weeks, the FBI agent said. Sheriff's deputies responded that morning and nobody was at the door. During their initial investigation, deputies learned that Mayer had allegedly texted out sick from the beginning of February 13th to the neighbors, and they hadn't seen the family. The deputies eventually breached the home and found the mother and father dead of gunshot wounds covered with blankets. Goodness gracious. Whew. Law enforcement officials found surveillance footage showing Kasp driving Mayer's black Volkswagen, traveling alone with family dog through Iowa. The vehicle reported missing. That night, officers at the police department conducted a traffic stop in the SUV. They found an unloaded revolver, ammunition of the caliber that killed the parents, and a large amount of cash. They reviewed the phone, would you look at that, and saw images and communications that reference a self-described manifesto regarding the assassination of President Trump, making bombs and terrorist attacks, according to the FBI documents. The messages indicated that Kasp planned on using a dirty bomb controlled by a drone for the assassination attempt and coordinated with somebody with the Ukrainian telephone number for evacuation to the war-torn country after the deed was done. So he was working with somebody with the Ukrainian telephone number. We're going to try our hardest not to speculate here, but so was Ryan Routh. Ryan Routh was working with a Ukrainian contact on the front lines with access to military weapons. How do we know that he wasn't tricked or he wasn't just texting some bot on the internet? Because Ryan Routh had been to Ukraine. He had used these weapons. He had seen the front lines. Ryan Routh was recruiting fighters for Ukraine. Ryan Routh got no-look visas in Ukraine for Every fighter from Pakistani to ISIS, from Afghanistan, Iraqi fighters. Ryan Routh was able to do this with the coordination of our State Department. That's the only way it could work. You can't travel to Ukraine just for fun. You can't do that. You can't go to the front lines. Neither could I. Ryan Routh had connections high up in the Ukrainian military ranks, and now it seems like we have another assassin who is working with Ukraine. I don't know who the individual was, but working with someone with a Ukrainian telephone number to get evacuated the country after they got the bombs. And one final note here. President Trump was taken indoors for his inauguration. Does this explain it now? Do we now understand why Trump's entire inauguration, including the parades, the swearing in, all of it was done inside? Do you see now? For weeks, we did reports on the drone activity that could be a massive at-scale threat to the president. And now you're seeing it at scale here. They wanted to use a dirty bomb controlled by a drone for the assassination attempt. And you could just fly it as fast as possible straight toward the president and detonate the bomb. So there it is. When will we learn who he was coordinating with in Ukraine? Here from CNN, a 17-year-old Wisconsin allegedly killed his parents as part of a plot to assassinate Trump. When will we learn the identity of the Ukrainian he was working with? Let's look through this article here, shall we? A 3-page document the FBI found called for Trump's assassination to create a political revolution in the U.S. and save the white race. Okay. As to why, specifically Trump, I think it's pretty obvious by getting rid of the president and perhaps the vice president, it's guaranteed to bring chaos. The FBI additionally found images and messages on his phone with information of how to use a drone attack, per the affidavit. He paid, at least in part, for a drone and explosives to commit the attack, investigators said. They also found photos of the front and back of Mayer's credit and debit cards, username and passwords and bank account. 17-year-old classmate told the sheriff's office that Casp had told him that he planned to kill his parents, but didn't have access to a gun. Goodness gracious. He planned to leave the United States for Ukraine. In one Telegram message, he asked, "So while in Ukraine, I'll be able to live a normal life." Here's an image of the killer. Again, he's from Wisconsin. He's charged with the murders of his mother, his stepfather. The FBI is charging him with conspiracy of attempted assassination of Donald Trump, attempting to use a weapon of mass destruction. According to the manifesto, he aimed to start political revolution. He needed to kill his parents in order to obtain the financial means to carry out his plan. So they have messages with him, the Ukrainian. Will I be able to flee to Ukraine and live a normal life, even when it's found out that I did it? So what does the Ukrainian say back in return? And this is my major issue with all of this. Can we please get all of the message? Can you please just release everything? We still have no idea who the Butler shooter was talking to. The Butler shooter, Matthew Thomas Crooks, was texting and FaceTiming people right before he hits President Trump in the head with a bullet. Who was he FaceTiming? Who was he texting? Who was he talking with? He had 3 encrypted apps that ran out of New Zealand and Belgium and Austria. Where are those messages? Where are those apps? Why can't we read what was on his phone? Why don't we know what was inside of his body? Can we get the autopsy report? Oh, we can't. Why? Because we cremated his body. Then we power washed the roof. We scrubbed that crime scene clean as a whistle. So can we please figure out like who the Ukrainian was that he was communicating with? What about Routh? We learned this past week that Routh was trying to buy RPGs from Ukraine to blow President Trump's airplane out of the sky, which he could have done very easily, according to the experts we've had on this program. President Trump's airplane takes off from Palm Beach once a day. He could just sit on the other side of the freeway. And President Trump's plane is badass. We've ridden on it, his private plane. I'd really like to ride on Air Force One. Haven't done that yet. President Trump's plane is badass. I do not believe that it has the type of tech in it that would allow President Trump to evade a military-style weapon that's shot at the plane. We kept hearing little sprinklings of drone attack here. President Trump's plane's under attack there. That was clearly coming from intel that they had. And why is it always Ukraine? This is the face of the absolute face of evil. Here is the murderer. Demonic possession is real. It is Good Friday. There's one thing that you must internalize here. It is that darkness is real. Demons are real. Satan is real. Their conquests and their scourge of Christ is real. Christ perished on the cross today, but the power of light and truth inside of Christ, that same power that lives within all of us, is powerful enough to raise Christ from the dead, to throw mountains into the sea. You have that power. We have that power. As Christians, that is the light that lives within all of us. That image on screen is the face of darkness. This news breaking last night on Jesse Waters' show. Let's go.
And we still don't know a thing about Thomas Crooks. We just know that Ryan Routh had a connection to Ukraine. And Trump's getting frustrated.
It has not been explained to me perfectly by either Secret Service or the FBI. We have somebody, two good people running that. And I would like to hear the explanation. Yeah. Even if it's not released to the public, I should be allowed to hear it.
Amen.
And I might very well release it to the public.
Now, another assassination plot against Donald Trump was foiled in Wisconsin. And just like Routh, there's a Ukraine connection. In February, the Wisconsin Sheriff's Office arrested 17-year-old Nikita Kasip for killing his parents and uncovered a plot to kill the president. This kid, who was also part of a satanic neo-Nazi group, allegedly killed his parents for cash so he could fund an assassination attempt on Trump. Authorities went through his phone and found messages in Russian with an anonymous source. He was trying to buy a military drone to take out 47. Quote, a drone with a dropping mechanism. The drone would drop a bomb, so I would need that once the transfer is complete. He was also texting a Ukrainian phone number and planning an escape route to Ukraine. Quote, how long will I need to hide before I move to Ukraine? 1 to 2 months. So while in Ukraine, I'll be able to get a normal job and have a normal life, even if when it's found out I did it. Who is this kid? And why does he have an international network of arms dealers and human smugglers at his fingertips? Why is he texting Ukrainians and trying to overthrow our government? And what is it with Ukraine and all these unhinged assassins with multiple phones and revolution on their minds?
Why is it Ukraine? We've said on this program time and time again that our superpower is probably something that you practice every single day. Pattern recognition. Looking at the fake world that is being projected and saying, that's not true. That's not real. The light of truth. And when we watched President Trump disembowel Zelensky in the White House, it's almost like there's something to it, man. It's almost like the way that J.D. Vance and Donald Trump treated Zelensky is different than anything you've ever seen. We've seen Trump meet with Xi Jinping. We've seen Trump meet with Putin. These were in the first administrations, probably will happen in the second administration. We've seen President Trump meet with world leaders who don't like him a lot, or with other world leaders who are at war, like Bibi Netanyahu. We've seen Trump meet with all of them. We've never seen President Trump treat a world leader like this. Never seen it. We've never seen it. It's like they know that somewhere inside of Zelensky's operation, there was a kill order for Donald Trump to assist American assassins to kill Trump. Ryan Routh was in court this week and had to answer for trying to buy a Stinger missile to kill Donald Trump. Ryan Routh writes, and if we could please pull up the FBI documentation about this, Ryan Routh, I think it's right there. Ryan Routh writes that this will be great for Ukraine. I'm going to help you guys. You give me the weapons, smuggle them through our open border, use the cartels, smuggle them through the open border, give me the weapons, let me kill Trump for you. It's evil. And he was excited to use American arms to do this. He was going to use the weapons that we paid for in Ukraine to kill our president. You know how sadistic this all is? How satanic it all is? He says it right. It's in black and white. I need equipment so that Trump does not get elected. There it is. It'll be great for Ukraine. He was going to shoot the plane down from the sky. We landed at Palm Beach Airport, and we were like, wow, there's Trump's plane. It's iconic. Of course, you know exactly what it looks like, Trump's private plane. And this was before Trump was sworn in. And so he's still using this plane. And the entire plane, you could only see the tail of it, was surrounded by dump trucks. Surrounded by like large moving metal barriers where no one could get a clean shot of it unless you were like right up on the tarmac, right? Unless you were physically at the plane. And I was like, that's a little strange. I suppose a security precaution. One guy did try and kill Trump. That's what we knew at the time. At the time, that's all we knew. But what that was protecting against is RPGs from Ukraine. Has anybody in Ukraine had to answer for this? Can we get the contact's name? Is the contact an FBI agent? Okay, I will give you, based on everything we know about the Fed and the feds, that somebody might have been posing as a Ukrainian in order to entrap these individuals. Please explain that. If that's the case, then exonerate Zelensky's government and military apparatus. But until you exonerate them, what we are left to conclude, based on government documents in the black and white, is that Ukraine was a co-conspirator in the murder of President Trump. And they were using our weapons to do it. Ryan Routh in court this week, admitting to all of it. Here we go.
Now, in court documents, the government laid out a long list of evidence they want admitted into the trial. This includes encrypted messages that shows Routh allegedly tried to purchase a rocket-propelled grenade or an anti-aircraft missile from an associate he believed to be a Ukrainian with access to military weapons. Now, Routh allegedly asked this associate to, quote, send me an RPG or Stinger, and I will see what we can do. Trump is not good for Ukraine, end quote. The government argues Routh signaled his intent to kill President Trump when he wrote, quote, I need equipment so that Trump cannot get elected. Now, DOJ lawyers also allege Routh attempted unsuccessfully on multiple occasions to purchase a military-grade .50 caliber rifle. And the motion also outlined Routh's communication with a human smuggler in Mexico regarding an escape plan. Now, Routh's attorney on the other side, they're asking for access to the gun found outside the golf course to be live test fired. They want an expert to examine and test fire the weapon to see if it would have worked and fired at Trump that day. The defense is also seeking to dismiss 2 of the 5 total charges against their client relating to firearm possessions, citing Second Amendment rights. They had a lot to get to.
Incredible. Can we please go to the New York Post article here. Inside Ryan Wesley Routh's Hawaii home after FBI conducts raid of alleged would-be Trump assassins' digs. Just really quickly, I don't want to rehash all of this, But I do want to establish a fact pattern here that the feds have allowed Donald Trump, these feds, probably not the same feds, I don't know, that are protecting Trump today, but the feds that were working for Joe Biden wanted Trump to die. And I can prove it. So here's this loner, and scroll down through here, this loner who's living in squalor, doesn't really have a job, has no income, he's in total debt, yet he's able to crisscross the whole entire world flying back to Ukraine, back and forth to Ukraine. He runs an entire website about how he wants to recruit fighters for Ukraine. How did he get this idea? Well, I'm not exactly sure, but here's what I do know. I know that I looked at his X account. And on his X account, you can scroll through his followers and you can find his oldest followers, right? The people that he followed and followed him back. And some of the first people that followed him and followed him back are CIA handlers, people who have worked for the Central Intelligence Agency. We know their identity. We have the screenshots. It seems particularly strange. It's very strange. All Ryan Routh did all day long is spam social media for people to go fight in Ukraine. He lived in a dump. Look at his car. Here it is. He lived in a dump. He drove an old truck, and that truck had a Biden-Harris sticker on it, famously. There he is in Ukraine, right there. How's he able to get to Ukraine? How's he able to recruit fighters to Ukraine? Why are there so many photos of him holding arms in Ukraine, in military fatigues of Ukraine, on the front lines of Ukraine? What the hell is going on here? What kind of black ops are we looking at? He was able to travel back into America from Ukraine, which isn't allowed, of course. No private citizens able to go from war zone, like so easily from a war zone and enter the United States without questioning. They refused to question him at Homeland Security. The FBI already knew about this guy. The FBI agent said in Miami, the FBI field office director in Miami said, yes, we knew him. We were supposed to have already arrested him. We knew that he was in illegal possession of firearms. Why was he in illegal possession of firearms? Because he had 87 different felonies. One of them was a weapons of mass destruction felony for getting into a standoff with police with a fully automatic rifle. Those are very hard to come by. They do exist. Hard to come by. Nothing makes sense. And the only thing connecting all of the assassins of Donald Trump seems to be Ukraine. And I'm going out on a limb here, but Ryan Routh, Matthew Thomas Crooks, they were both communicating, and the new assassin, they were all communicating with foreign agents, with foreign entities. We still haven't seen Matthew Thomas Crooks' texts, but we know that he was using encrypted apps from overseas. What is the likelihood that one of them has a Ukrainian connection? I would say high, given the fact that the other two assassins do, but that's what we know. Nobody has been able to explain this. And you can see in the clip there that President Trump's pretty furious. I had not seen that clip, actually, of Donald Trump being interviewed there. That was just played on Jesse Waters. I'm not sure if we could isolate that and play it. But Donald Trump says they're keeping information from me, and I'm pretty pissed off about it. Nobody's explained to me what the F is going on. It is our obligation to explain, to do everything that we possibly can to figure this out. Here's a photo. Yeah, that totally works. We can just replay it. Here, this is just a very short clip, but this is unique. I hadn't actually isolated this clip yet. Let's have a listen.
It has not been explained to me perfectly by either Secret Service or the FBI. We have somebody, two good people running that, and I would like to hear the explanation.
Yeah.
Even if it's not released to the public, I should be allowed to hear it.
Amen.
And I might very well release it to the public.
How
Now,
crazy
another
is that?
assassination
How
plot against
insane is that? Donald Trump saying, nobody's explained it to me. Don't I have a right to hear? Don't I have a right to see who was in communication with Matthew Thomas Crooks? The investigators there say that it was a conspiracy, that he wasn't acting alone. The chief FBI investigator, who we met when we went to Butler, Pennsylvania, in the days after Matthew Thomas Crooks got a successful headshot on Donald Trump, meaning he struck him in the head with a bullet. We were the only one that went there. We went up on the roof. We laid right in the blood splattered area. We have video of it. We can show you. There was an FBI investigator there. He was retired FBI. He was working with Jim Jordan. He was doing interviews with all of the local police officers, Secret Service officers, eyewitnesses. His conclusion is that Matthew Thomas Crooks was not acting alone, that he had a handler there that day. How did Matthew Thomas Crooks build all of these pipe bombs? Here he is. Here he is right before climbing on the roof, sitting there on the phone. How did he build all these pipe bombs? How do you do this? How do you get across the roof? This building was massive. How do you scale the roof and get all the way across it without being detected? Who called off the police force? You know, there's a sniper window right there that could have gotten him, no problem. Why wasn't there somebody stationed on the water tower? The real conflict with the water tower, the conspiracy theory about the water tower is not that there was somebody up there, it's that there wasn't somebody up there. Why? This is the view from the sniper's nest with the local law enforcement. But guess what happened? They were called off right when Matthew Thomas Crooks crawled up there to take the shot. Who called him off exactly? What the hell is going on here? Why don't we know? And Donald Trump says he doesn't know. How deep, how dark does this conspiracy go? It is our obligation to ask questions about this as best that we possibly can. We want to find the truth. Good Friday, truth and light. Let us see it. We can handle it. Here, ladies and gentlemen, is us making good on that promise. We interviewed Kristi Noem on a military ship docked in New York, Manhattan Island. We'll shoot our shot. Here we go.
Secret Service has bad advertisements,
Yes,
right? Like the assassination attempt in Butler.
Yes.
And many people, especially in our audience, are frustrated at the lack of understanding of what the motivation was, who was Matthew Thomas Crooks talking to on the phone, what was happening behind the scenes. Some investigators are out saying he might not have acted alone. Again, what people want, I think, is just information because it seems so strange. This guy almost started a civil war, changed the course of human history with 8 shots on the president.
Well, we need to know the truth. Americans deserve the truth. They really do. Yeah, and that is all information that the president will be fully briefed on and will know, and that the American public will know. What I will say also is that what we have seen continuously, and what I see as a fundamental flaw, is a breakdown in communication. And it's part of my job at DHS is to help streamline that. If you look at that situation in Butler, the communication between Secret Service, the local law enforcement, the state law enforcement, all the agencies that were there, it was a breakdown in how they communicate and how they do it in a situation like that. But we see the same thing happening in a crisis that could be in response to a natural disaster. How the federal responders communicate with the state responders, with the local emergency management operators. A lot of times when we see failures in FEMA or in failures in other departments and agencies, it's because they weren't communicating. And for me, my job, what I believe needs to happen so many times is a pre-education and a structure for how we communicate and how we do things before they happen. Sean knows that part of that training that needs to happen is educating folks on how we're going to work with local law enforcement before that event ever comes, and spending time to create those communication structures. Because if you go back through the investigations that the House and the Senate have done into Butler, a lot of it was they weren't talking to each other, they weren't cooperating together, therefore their assets weren't fully utilized. And how did that happen? How did 8 shots get off? And is he acting alone? We still don't have the answers because we weren't talking to each other.
So you don't know if he was acting alone?
Well, it's not my purview to say to you today all of that, but I will say that it all is information that the American public will have at the appropriate time.
So there is an investigation going on,
Oh,
and we will learn a lot more.
And members of Congress are still working on that as well, too. So it's not just an investigation, with law enforcement entities in the country, but also Congress is still very much on top of it.
We'll do as much as we possibly can. We have a voice here. That voice is yours. We listen to you. We listen to the chat. We hear your concerns. And we have an obligation to you to bring those questions up to the powerful. A lot of people are very scared about that. Clearly, Kristi Noem, I think, there was caught slipping just a little bit because she's like, well, might not have been acting alone. What do you know? Like, hold up. Like, you just told us he's not acting alone. Who was he coordinating with? We now know that there were 3 other assassins who were coordinating with foreign powers. Okay, 1 allegedly Iranian, 2 Ukrainian. How about Matthew Thomas Crooks? None of them were able to actually get lead through the president's body. Matthew Thomas Crooks was, and we don't know who he was talking to. You have his damn phone. All we know is that the house was locked down. We got no tour, sanitized, no silverware in the house, clean as a whistle, no photos of his rooms, no laptop. They have it all. They just refuse to tell us. So we're going to keep pushing. We started the Jeffrey Epstein super cycle. Not our fault. We just asked the questions, okay? We started the Jeffrey... What did you think was going to happen? We started the Jeffrey Epstein super cycle, and we'll keep asking questions about this assassination. I mean, it is Good Friday, and as is the opinion of this... The opinion of this show is that while Christ's resurrection from the dead is the most powerful and important miracle that will ever happen, President Trump surviving that assassin's bullet is the most widely in 4K seen miracle in human history. It saved people. I can't say the names because I'd be betraying people. I'm telling you, some of the most famous people on earth have sat with us backstage at events. I mean, you're talking like powerful cultural people who were atheists, who are proud of their atheism. And while they may not be able to say it publicly right now, they have told us that this miracle has now caused them to rethink their atheism, has now profoundly affected them, that President Trump has witnessed to them personally after this. And that Donald Trump surviving right here has connected them with God. If that's what's happening in the highest echelons of success and fame and celebrity, then what's happening in the masses? There are 9 billion people on planet Earth. How many of them have seen that video? Well,